We are back now with Fan Long, founder of Conflux. Just want to remind you guys, check out all the things during the breaks and everything. Be sure to hashtag SmartCon and talk about the cool talks you see and tag people on Twitter. Fan, I'm going to hand it over to you to let you talk about Conflux. Take it away.
Great. Thank you. Well, it's a great honor to present here. So I'm going to talk about Conflux technology, what's the current status, and I will briefly talk about the blockchain landscape in China, so if I have time. So I'm Fan Long, the founder of Conflux, and well, this is the impossibility triangle, scalability, decentralized. So you will see that you will see that many times, which is talking that it's impossible to have both a scalable blockchain and also decentralized and the security. This is because every participant has only access of OC resources. And well, a question that people are asking, did not ask very often, is what's the resource limit OC for normal computers, like the laptop I'm giving the talk? Well, today I'm going to tell you that actually our laptop or normal computers can process far more transactions per second than you can imagine. Like if you think about P2P network, the P2P network now actually have more than 10 megabyte BPS, and the transaction per second is 3,000 to 6,000. It's easily hit. If you think about storage and the compute, it can both do more than 2,000 or 4,000 transactions. But why we end up with now a lot of blockchains on the layer 1 blockchains only be able to process very little? Is it because of proof of work is very slow? Actually not. Well, it is because the distributed system is a kind of building a barrel, and the bottleneck is actually limited by the performance of the system is limited by its bottleneck. And now the bottleneck is a consensus, but to build a fully scalable system, you need to hit all of those potential bottlenecks, like make storage faster, make compute and network faster. And this is what Conflux has been working for 2 years, is to build a whole new stack of layer 1 blockchain and make it scalable to reach the potential of the normal computers. So this is the goal of the Conflux and why we have been working on. And to realize this goal, we start with the standard Nakamoto consensus, which many of you guys have been familiar with, and we try to build on top of the Ghost consensus and our new gas consensus and ordering algorithm in Conflux achieve a high performance, safety, and liveness guarantees. So the reason why a lot of proof of work consensus algorithm being very slow is because it always have to follow the rules of a proof of work, follow the longest chain, and it has to have a very slow and a small block generation rate. The reason why it has to have slow and small block generation is because the network has to slow down to wait for the consensus algorithm to make sure that the fork there is no fork generated, because the fork will cause the network to trigger cause the fork, and it will causes security holes in a lot of normal consensus algorithms, like Nakamoto consensus in Bitcoin. So people may ask, if we want to speed up this, what if we run Nakamoto consensus with a large and fast block generation? And here's what would happen. If we just simply speed up the block generation or block size, we will still have a longest chain or some sort of agreed chain with the algorithm, but it will downgrade the safety, and also fork will waste the network and the processing resources. So longest chain in this cell is what in this scenario will not be safe, because when we have a lot of forks, suppose the longest chain has only 10% of fork blocks, then the attacker suddenly will only need more than 10% of computation power to reverse the longest chain. So what we have been innovative in Conflux to work with the new consensus algorithm, which we call it a GAST. The GAST really has the adaptive subtree, and we will assign different weights to the generated blocks. And from the genesis, we will iteratively select blocks whose subtree has the heaviest total weight. So the GAST algorithm will creatively try to navigate to detect whether the network is under certain attack. And in normal scenarios, we will assign equal weights to the blocks, operates like a ghost, and near optimal throughput and confirmation latency. And when attack happens, we'll assign high weights to only a small set of blocks and make the whole system operate in a very conservative approach. And in that way, we will thwart those attacks and ensure the progress. What GAST can enable is to make sure that the block generation rate is very fast. So, well, to work with GAST, Conflux operates a tree graph structure, which is our novel structure that organizes blocks into several to make it like a DAG, direct acyclic graph. But it also has a tree embedded in this graph, so that we call it a tree graph. And what it does is that for every block, it also records not just its parent, but also all the blocks that it sees as the reference edges. And this would enable the system to enable the algorithm to selectively select the order, to encode all the concurrent blocks into the total order, and make the total order to contain all the blocks. So one tree graph's functionality is be able to determine the weights based on the path subgraph and detect whether we are facing certain kinds of attack or not. So it will test whether the path subgraph is stable, and if it is true, then we will assign the same weight for every block. And if this path subgraph is passed, then we will assign weight edge for one edge blocks, only small portion of blocks. So this will enable that all honest participants agree on the same weight, so they will react to the attacker cooperatively. So Conflux, after using the GAST to find a pivot chain that every participant can agree with, then we will have a Conflux ordering algorithm. We have an ordering algorithm that deterministically define total order contains all blocks following the reference chain, and each pivot chain. So here, for example, when we have a tree graph, we will split the pivot chain blocks, and each pivot chain block will form one epoch, and then the epoch, the independent, every blocks of the pivot chain will belong to the epoch that the first epoch whose corresponding epoch, whose corresponding pivot chain happens after. So for example, D belongs to the epoch of E because B happens before E, but does not happen before C. Same applies to the block J. J belongs to the epoch of H because the H happens after J, but the E are generated parallel with J. So with this algorithm, we will order based on the epoch first, and the topological sort blocks in each epoch, and the break ties will block ID. So for this graph, for example, the block total order after we start with the epoch would be Genesis A, B, C, D, F, E, G, J, I, H, K. So with this, the total block of total order of block, we will be able to derive the total order of transactions, and this will give us a deterministic way to order the transactions and to execute. This transaction could be simple payment or could be smart contract transaction and execution. For example, we could now the Conflux could support all the GBM transactions and could support smart contracts. For example, we have implemented the Chainlink smart contract, be able to use cell phone messages to control the smart contract deployed on Conflux. So with the tree graph, this is safe against attack because the attacker cannot revert the transactions unless it reverts the pivot chain, and it's very hard to revert the pivot chain unless he or she controls for 50% of the blocks. So we have implemented the Conflux, and now all the Conflux source code is open source in the GitHub repo of Conflux Rust, and welcome to try those. I only covered today's key algorithm, and there are implementation. There are a lot of implementation details and optimization we made to speed up different layers like storage, networks, and others. So those are just a few that we did in this in our Conflux implementation. So in the lab, we have evaluated the Conflux in up to 12K different nodes, and the throughput we could reach 9.6 Mbps, which could translate to 3,000 to 6,000 transactions, depending on the size of the transaction. If you count the Bitcoin size of transaction, it would be 3,000. If we count the Ethereum size, it could be close to 6,000. And we can confirm those transactions in less than one minute. This is because we can generate blocks very fast. And with our technology, we also replay the Ethereum history transactions and get a very cool results and be able to execute the first 7 months of Ethereum transactions within half hours in our Conflux platform. So this is Conflux has been launched Conflux has been launched around like 2018 May, and we have been undergo 2 years of development, and our second phase of Mainnet Oceanus is already live, and now we have more than 1,000 nodes online across the world, and we will launch our Mainnet, makes the network fully decentralized in the end of October. So I love you guys to join that, and it will have the full functionality and compatibility with the VM. So you can use Solidity compiler to develop your favorite smart contract and deploy that. And we have developed, for example, demos how to send out messages to through the Chainlink framework to control smart contracts on Conflux. So our Conflux development in China has been following a very unique path. I would say that we are taking our regulatory compliant route to develop the public chain. So because China has is a very special market, because China market is a very special market, it has a lot of special rules. So we are trying to stay within the red lines that are drawn by the government officials. So, for example, government officials never like you to do ICO. never like you to participate in any pump and dump scheme or have a special payout with also centralized exchanges. So we are following that route, and our effort has been paid off, partly because our team has composed of top scientists in China, and through our collaborations, through our regulatory approach, government has started to appreciate what we're doing and collaborating with us to do the next generation public chain. So they recognize us serious team trying to push the boundary of the blockchain research. For example, we have established a research institute in Shanghai, and this is a collaboration with the Shanghai government. So this has happened on January 9th, and the deputy mayor, and our chief scientist, and Professor Andrew Yao, in our research institute ceremony, in this photo, and we want to we present to the government is basically say we are really trying to push the boundary of the blockchain science and blockchain technology. We're a group of scientists, and we really want to help representing China to define what the next generation blockchain public chain should look like. And following up, we also recently have been endorsed by Hunan government, Hunan province in China, and the Hunan province will use Conflux technology to build government, to build infrastructures, to collect and organize government data, and we will try to use Conflux technology to help facilitate the data sharing and make sure that those data are properly used and properly encrypted. So we have this is actually a map that shows the current live node, the current live trusted live node that participating in the phase 2 net of Conflux, and of the participant in the second phase of the Conflux network, and those each of the dots representing one of our Conflux community members running one of the full nodes, and we want to see more joining to the network. And if you want to join the Conflux network, you can following our website and look at the developer. Look at our website and the developer materials. We would love to have more people to try Conflux techniques. And in our first session, in our first phase, in our first phase of the mainnet launch, we will provide credit for developers to deploy smart contracts on top of Conflux. And here, this link is actually Conflux Explorer. You can see that we have thousands of nodes participating in the mining. It's a proof of work mined, and there are new blocks generated. Every second will generate 2 new blocks, and there are transactions. There are also transactions from our already deployed DAX, DApps on Conflux networks. We have a JavaScript SDK, Go SDK. You can very much interact with Conflux in the way that you are familiar with when you interact with Ethereum, just with the transaction fee significantly lower than Qigong. So I would love to see you there, and in the launching of the Conflux at the end of October.